Hello, guten Tag und grüß Gott. Well, today is June 5th, 2022, and it is once again a Sunday. I have not made a video now for a couple of weeks, but I intend to be a lot more on top of that because I actually enjoy doing these things. What I don't enjoy is bad news or sad news. And so I think what I want to do is I want to start with that and just kind of dispense with it and get it over with. So, as I mentioned before, we did have a shooting again. We had a Buffalo shooting, and now we had a shooting in Uvalde, Texas, in a school. And this guy went, crazy son of a bitch, went and shot his grandmother. I don't know, then he got in a truck and drove down the street someplace, had a bunch of ammo and a rifle with him. And he crashed his truck, just ran off the road. Well, what is next to do? Grabbed his rifle and his ammo, and he went to just the nearest school there is and start shooting kids. And so 20 died, and a teacher also died. And I don't know how many more were injured, but I'm sure there were some injured, a lot of them injured. But anyway, so this week they had the funerals for these people, and well, really a sad event on top of a sad event was that one of the teacher's husbands went to the funeral or some sort of a memorial for his wife, who was a teacher there and was shot. Evidently, she put herself in front of a kid, and the son of a bitch just shot her. I'm not even going to mention his name because I don't know it and I don't even care. He's a fucking asshole, and he's hurting the entire country by doing stuff like this. And if that's what he wanted to do, I guess he accomplished that. Well, what a friggin' jerk. Anyway, a murderer, just a plain old murderer, shooting at defenseless people. That's probably the worst, Anyway. So, of course, there's this controversy. The cops didn't, they let him rampage through the school for about an hour, and the people are pissed, and so all kinds of things went wrong there. But Uvalde is one of the places, that middle school, actually one of my friends also, and neighbor, attended there because he's from Texas. He lived only about 20 miles or so from Uvalde. And although the school, I think there was a school there, but it wasn't this particular school that he went to. But, that was just next to his ranch in Texas, where, he grew up as a kid. And I asked him, I said, anything like that ever happened before over there? He said, no, not that he know of. I don't know what's going on in this country, but it sucks. So let me dispense with that. And another thing that I really want to dispense with, if I can, and that is the war in the Ukraine and the unthinkable invasion of the Russians into the Ukraine and killing people there. Now, our press, what you read in the papers right now, and the sentiments is, oh yeah, the Ukrainians are killing tanks, and they're shooting up ammunition dumps, and they actually have blown up something behind the lines in Russia. And so, the Ukrainians are doing all kinds of damage, but here's the bottom line. The Russians are keeping on coming. Even though there have been stories in the newspapers, about, hundreds of Russian soldiers have defected because, but hell, defections of 1 million-man army of a few hundreds, what the hell does that mean, So the Russians are keeping on coming. The losses are heavy. Their losses are heavy on probably both sides, but we don't hear so much about the losses on the Ukrainian army or their weapon systems or anything, but you hear a lot more about what the Russians are doing to civilians, mass graves, and then the pictures are always up with, destruction of civilian targets and so forth. So the sentiment of the world, is generally supportive of the Ukraine. Even China, that is, Russia's friend right now. We'll see how long that lasts. They are very non-committal on this. But when the issue came up on, continuing sanctions on North Korea, well, the Russians and the Chinese together voted to not extend the sanctions to North Korea. So the Russians and the Chinese are still kind of buddy-buddy, but it's a little bit of a tenuous relationship because, my sense is that Westerners make friends with Westerners, Middle Easterners make friends with Middle Easterners, and Asians make friends with Asians a lot more readily than across the lines. I know Germany and Turkey had this relationship, but that didn't go well. Anyway, so that's it. But the Wall Street Journal did have something interesting in there, and I want to read this because it kind of sums up what's going on right now. And this is the Saturday Sunday issue of the Wall Street Journal. So it says, after 100 days, the war being waged by Russia against Ukraine is turning into a bloody slog with no end in sight, causing mounting devastation in the Ukraine and prolonged costs around the world. And I think that really does sum it up pretty well. And that's it. The sad news and the sad stories. And there are probably other sad ones, but let's get on with what else is going on, because there's something kind of happy going on. And I want to show this particular photo because we just had the Jubilee, the 70th Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth's reign. Queen Elizabeth is now 96 years old, and of course I was in front of a TV watching live when she was coronated. So this was, this hits home personally quite a bit, because not only did I watch her being coronated and the coronation, I have to correct that a little bit, because it was Coronation Day. And when I walked up to the television that I saw in the camera store's window and people gathered around it, I basically witnessed only the Queen being carried in a gorgeous carriage down the street, wherever that was in London. And, people surrounding it. There was sound with it. I can't remember what the sound was, but everybody was glued to the TV there. There were probably, maybe a couple of dozen people rubbernecking onto that TV. And for me, it was the first time that I've ever seen TV. Of course, I heard about it, but that was the very first time. And my friend Huber, I think it was the first time for my friend as well. And so we were both looking at that and watching the coronation. And so the Wall Street Journal has a really interesting picture here, of the Queen consorts and, all of the notables together back then, which was, 1948, and now. So here it is. This is the photo of how it was there in black and white, and now in living color. Anyway, there you have it. There are a couple of other newsworthy things, perhaps, you know, and they're not necessarily newsworthy, but the female soccer players, of course, they just won parity, so they're getting paid the same amount as the men do, and when they go to their tournaments and so forth, they get the paid the same as the men do. So what the hell ever happened to viewership? I thought that our sports figures, get paid by viewership because that's their value. The more eyes you can get on the event, the more commercials you can run and so on. We do understand that kind of thing. So now the women have reached parity and they have equal pay. For what exactly? They say it's equal work. So do we like to watch women soccer players more than or equally as well as we do the men? I would say no. Women's sports are just not caught up with where the men are. Well, I have to make exception for beach volleyball and some of those things. We do love our women, I have to tell you. So anyway, so that's it. They're now getting the same amount of money. I don't know exactly how they divvy it up, but the idiots that are actually agreeing to this kind of stuff, evidently think that this is a good marketing move. Well, okay, fine. And I don't begrudge them if they get more money, if they can negotiate more money, then the men will go. I don't want people to be stupid, and ask for something less. Let's face it, basically, everybody's got goals, and the higher you set the goal, the more success you will have, because, we normally don't, we kind of, hit just below the goal, okay? And, if you're pursuing your goal, and not everybody reaches their goal, but that's okay, because if you set it high enough, you may never reach it, but you're going to reach heights, that are, that you would not otherwise reach, if you set yourself a low goal. I'm talking about a low goal, and if you set yourself goals that are low enough, and don't attain that, shit, what happens? Anyway, so they set themselves a high goal, and they're now getting a lot of money that they didn't get before. Are they deserving of it? I don't know. I guess you have to be there. Do they all deserve more money? I don't know. How much do they bring in? How do they contribute to the bottom line? I guess that's what the National Football League or Soccer League, I think they call themselves NFF something, whatever it is. But, in Europe, we called football, but in America, football is something totally different. I remember when I first saw GIs, out in the field, playing with this, what they called it, a football. Give me a break. That's not even a ball. It's not round. It's a friggin' cucumber or something, And they were playing with that thing and having a great time. I'm taking myself back to, being, 8-10 years old or so, watching this stuff. And in America, we call this football. Well, in Germany, it's Fußball, and you use your feet, And here, we use our hands mostly to carry that damn thing, and pass it, not Tom Brady, right? Anyway, never did learn how how to toss a good football, But as a kid, playing soccer was something pretty natural. We had rivalry from one street to another, and sometimes we didn't even have a soccer ball in the beginning. We had no balls. Okay, all the guys had balls, I'm sure. But anyway, we had no footballs because we got our moms, to sew up a bunch of rags, into something, and we'd kick that thing around until it fell apart. But did we have fun? Absolutely. Boy, did we have fun. So another piece of the news is, I don't know whether, you will ever read about Stormy Daniels. Well, her lawyer, Michael Avanetti, is now in jail. He's got to do jail time. Why? Because he embezzled some $300,000 of his client, which was Stormy Daniel. And you may ask, who's Stormy Daniel? Well, Stormy Daniel was somebody that the Democrats trotted out, to hopefully bring down President Trump at that time, because if you can't attack anybody with the truth or something that is with wrongdoing, then you can always trot somebody out about sexual assault, because you can find some woman and maybe you can pay her enough, or maybe you convince her, maybe she's a Trump hater, and there goes, Donald Trump propositioned me. I don't know exactly the thing, but I know Michael Avanetti was out there on television, quite a bit, the lawyer, representing her. In fact, he wanted to run for president one time. It's crazy, So it turns out that he needed the money, and he took it from Stormy Daniels, And, I'm sure she worked hard for her money, Porn stars, really do work hard, Of course, they never called her a porn star. They called her, I think it's something like exotic dancer or something like that. So, yeah, well, exotic dancer. Oh, maybe she was just a pole star, I don't know. Crap. I'm having too much fun with these things. So, something really caught my eye the other day, and and we're done with the news part here, so this should be a little more fun, hopefully. So let me talk to you about nutrition, these kinds of things, because it was actually my son brought that up some time ago, and we were talking about bread, bread, the staff of life, So, and he just mentioned, he said, Wonder Bread is not what you think it is. It's really Wonder Bread. And I said, it's this white stuff, everybody wants to eat either keto bread. There's keto bread? What the hell? It's made of meat? Anyway, there is really keto bread. Or whole grains, we want to have whole grains, because that's kind of like the paleo diet, all they ate was whole grains, right? They didn't have any way to refine it and take all the nutrients out, and give you the stuff that looks good and tastes good, right? So, and they were healthy as hell. They lived a hell of a great life till about 22, 30 or something like this, until some mastodon or somebody got him. Anyway, we live in a wonderful world, we can kind of make fun of this BS, and I'm saying BS in the kindest way, because I don't know what's BS and what isn't, I kind of make that up myself, but anyway, so I started to look into this, I said, Wonder Bread, what the hell? So I through Google, you can Google anything. So I looked at Wonder Bread, and sure as hell, So evidently, sure as hell meaning what? Sure as hell meaning it's a Wonder Bread. So Wonder Bread has a long, long history in the United States, which is amazing, So as a matter of fact, it predates sliced bread, all the way back to the 1920s. In 1921, back in May in Indianapolis, Wonder Bread was introduced, with great fanfare, the wonder is coming. And people loved it right away, and then when sliced bread came about, Wonder Bread was the go-to. When I came to the United States, and we had, our first night stay in Pekin, Illinois, before we got to our home in Green Valley. There, the Lutz family made breakfast for us, and they served Wonder Bread. Of course, we didn't know about Wonder Bread at that time, so we thought it was cake. It was, you can take a slice of Wonder Bread, and make it into a 1-inch diameter ball, maybe less than that, if you have the strength in your hand. But anyway, we thought that why are they serving us cake with eggs? And, that didn't make any sense, but yeah, tasted okay. It was good. you know. But we missed our bread, you know, so we only bought you know, when we moved to Peoria later on, you know, we bought only there were the Weinbergs, you know, that had the Jewish rye and stuff like this. And my dad really liked the Jewish rye, but for the caraway seeds. Oh, he hated the caraway seeds in there. And so he always asked Mr. Weinberg, he said, hey, did you make any without caraway? And every once in a while I got it without caraway. But anyway, for some reason he had an aversion to caraway. So yeah, Wonder Bread was introduced. Now, the thing is, why was it introduced? And, you know, that may be lost a little bit in antiquity. Antiquity, what, 80 years ago or so? Well, no, 100 years ago. I got to do my math here, you know. It was, well, 101 years if it wasn't 21. Okay. 1921. So, anyway, so it was introduced then. And the reason it was introduced is because nations started to really take seriously the nutrition of their population. You know, there were goiters, there were all kinds of diseases. You know, if you, you know, it was really hard to make it out of infancy because, you know, most people died in infancy. If you kind of made it out into the adulthood or into the teens, you know, you did a little better. You know, you could make it maybe to 65 on the average. But, you know, there were also really old people in their 90s and so on. So it wasn't all that bad. But generally, you know, the nutrition, you know, once we became aware of vitamins and stuff like this, you know, and berry happened over in Asia, and, you know, with the rice and so on. And the Limeys, you know, figured out that, you know, there was such a thing as vitamin C, you know, that if you eat some fruit, you know, because sailors came back sick as dogs. So anyway, nutrition became a big deal, okay? And so the government got together with whoever did this Wonder Bread and said, you know what, we're going to create a healthier population because, you know, who wants to rule a bunch of sick people, you know? First of all, they cost a lot, you know, I mean, or you can just let them die and then they lay around, stink up the place, you know? I mean, you know, who wants another plague and stuff? So let's figure out what it takes to be nutritious. And so that was actually the beginning of Wonder Bread. So they fortified it with vitamins and, you know, essential vitamins that they thought at the time, you know, and that's been going on for all that time, all the way to here, to now. And, you know, I just happen to have an example of Wonder Bread right here in front of me. Here's the Wonder Bread, okay? Wonder. And, you know, I thought, well, you know, let's take a look and see what we have in 100% whole grain, Sara Lee. All right. So let's look at the labels, you know. So you look at the labels. I got to get my glasses on so I can read this stuff, you know. Anyway, so the Wonder Bread, oh man, it's got a label like crazy, you know. It has 20% vitamin D3, calcium 35%. Now this is for 10 servings. 2 slices. Okay, there are 10 servings in here, 2 slices. So in other words, a sandwich has 20% of vitamin D, 35% calcium, iron 10%, no potassium, thiamine, and so on, so on. So all the way down, niacin and folate. And folate is really important because I think folate was one of the things, you know, that we were missing and caused a lot of goiters, you know, if you didn't have, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what folate fits in because now I've got it confused with iodine and salt. And iodine kind of, you know, fixed up the goiter problem once we found that out. So we learned a lot. Anyway, so this is what happened, and people loved it. And so that happened in the 1920s, and then somebody figured out, hey, let's sell it sliced, and people loved it even more because, hey, is there anything better than sliced bread? You know, I mean, that's even a discussion today. So let's look at Sara Lee. Looks nice, brown, healthy, 100% whole wheat. You see that? 100% whole wheat. Yep, 100% whole wheat. Let's see what's in it. Well, what's in it? Dietary fiber, Polyunsaturated fat, monounsaturated fat, 0, which is a good thing. Total sugars, 2%. What the hell are the vitamins? Shit. 290 milligrams of sodium. Well, that can't necessarily be good. But the ingredients are whole wheat flour, water, yeast, wheat, and from then on, I can't really pronounce it much, but soy lecithin, wheat bran, and so forth. So what the hell are the vitamins? Oh, here are the vitamins. Vitamin D, 0. Calcium, 4%. Hey, iron, 8%. Potassium, so they put potassium in. Okay, 2%. Why not? Potassium is something good for the heart anyway. So they did put some stuff in there, but does it compare to Wonder Bread? Hell no. Wonder Bread stands alone, all by itself. So, you can buy keto bread. You can, the thing is that I still cannot, really eat Wonder Bread very much. I do, I use it as a hot dog bun, which is kind of cool, because it really conforms around it and you don't have to buy a hot dog bun, Wonder Bread does. And, it toasts up really great too. So I have nothing against it, but, did it cause a healthy population? I bet it really had a lot to do with it, Is it better than natural stuff without the fortification? Good question. We don't regulate our food supplements right now, not to any extent. We tried that for, back about maybe 20 years ago. There was some sort of a initiative, let's get these things regulated because, anybody can promise you anything. You see the TV commercials, you can do away with, A1C, it will be great, if you have, type 2 diabetes. Oh, we got a pill for this, we got a pill for that. And, oh, man, anyway. And, it was kind of hard to get people to accept pills back then because, even my dad, he said, look, son, why in the hell do you buy all these vitamins? And I used to be big in vitamins when I was a kid, I would buy supplements, and everything because I went to the gym and I used to work out and all that, so, build muscles, that kind of thing. But anyway, so that was my thing. So I had vitamins, I had brewer's yeast, tiger's milk, that I used to make it with brewer's yeast. And, Adele Davis was my hero. She's the one that wrote books on nutrition that are not all that scientific, but, she was a big advocate of liver, for instance. And yeah, liver is a wonderful, source of iron and all that kind of stuff, but there's such a thing as cholesterol. You're eating too much of the stuff that are cholesterol rich may not be all that good for you. So, it was, anyway, I loved Adele Davis, Let's see, there was a book called Let's Eat Right to Keep Fit, So my dad was basically a proponent of that. And, they gave me a little kitchen drawer there to keep my supplements and stuff in there. And he said, son, why are you doing this? You've got an apothecary there. It's all not natural. All you have to do is eat right and you'll be healthy. Well, I believed in eating right, but this was kind of like, belts and suspenders, just in case I don't eat right. I've got all that stuff, vitamins and so forth. And, it was kind of expensive, actually, and, see, those were the days, when I worked as much as I possibly could, went to school full time, took a full load, and each semester I graduated in 4 years, in mechanical engineering. So, but I also had a job. I had to go every day, at a coat hanger factory, where I did whatever they asked me to do, because I had to contribute money to the family at that time, and my dad always paid my tuition. There was no doubt about that. So he paid for my tuition, and I didn't have to worry about it. And he gave me allowance, I buy gasoline, 50 cents worth, could, run my car, my 49 Ford, for about, I don't know, 3-4 days or something like that. And, I mean, for 50 cents gas, you also got your windshield wiped, your oil checked, and, Jesus, times have changed. Anyway, so, yeah, nutrition, you know, I, so, well, at 82, I'm reasonably healthy. I work out with dumbbells, 20-pound dumbbells. I do 30 push-ups. And right now I'm sort of more or less pain-free. I've got this thing in my neck a little bit, but more or less pain-free. And, I realize that can change any moment. So I'm not, touting my pain-freeness and I'm so proud of it. No, that, nature takes its toll, So don't think, that, eating a good diet or vitamins or anything like this are 100% assurance that you're going to do well. It's a friggin' crapshoot. Who knows? There's DNA involved and there's stuff involved. It's just crazy as hell. Anyway, so, nutrition, yeah. So, over the years, governments have always been kind of concerned with, what are we feeding our people and so forth. And in some areas, maybe not so much so. But, after the Black Death, which hit Europe and Western Europe, a bunch of times, I think at least 3 times real hard. There was a guy by the name of Jethro Tull, who actually, the people saying, he saved Europe from starving, because I think, after the devastation of the Black Death, people started to have children again and so on, started to work, and, population increased, and they didn't really understand too much about, how fields have to lay fallow and things like this. Well, anyway, Eli Whitney, developed a machine, to plant seeds more efficiently, because in the old days, there's still photographs, of the farmers going out throwing seeds out and stuff like that. Now the American Indians in the United States, they did when they planted corn, they did it pretty smart. For thousands of years before then, what they did is they took some kernels of corn, dug a little hole and put a fish in it. Okay. But of course that had to be done by hand, so, you couldn't have a wheat harvest or a corn harvest, that for export or anything like this. But, it fed the tribe and maybe a couple of tribes around it, and if they did really well, then a neighboring tribe would invade them, and take the corn away, Anyway. So, yeah, nutrition, as a matter of fact, all of the mechanizations, probably were really important, and I would include with that, Eli Whitney's cotton gin. Oh yeah, you didn't eat cotton, but, it was that mechanization, that was really, really important, to think about how we can do things more efficiently, But you know what? You can go back, and read about nutrition, way back, in the Bible as well, there are lots of, I mean, almost in the beginning, that, the plants and herbs, grow to make us healthy, and the Bible says, that, man is limited to approximately 120 years or so. That's a really good age for people. Women probably would exceed that anyway. They live longer now. So, maybe for women it's 200 years. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, the Book of Daniels. Book of Daniel. There, it was, I think it was in the middle of it was right there in the Babylonian captivity, Nebuchadnezzar, I mean, Daniel became a big figure with Nebuchadnezzar. Anyway, the Book of Daniel's, when Nebuchadnezzar decided, let's get the healthiest, best-looking youth, to bring them into the court, so that if they're the smartest, I want to be surrounded by the smartest people and so forth, so that, innovation happens here, and, well, maybe you just need the smartest people, figure out how to not get killed, by his brother or something. But anyway, so, yeah, and Daniel, talked to the guy that was in charge of the eunuchs, the eunuchs that, They usually, if they had women around, well, the first thing they did is, did something with their balls, took a, so, the guys couldn't do anything with the women, and well, they did that in China, they did it everywhere, I mean, so nobody wanted to have their women messed with, and anyway, so the chief of the eunuchs, said, Daniel, your Jewish kids, that they were rounded up as these smart guys, that are going to help the Nebuchadnezzar and on the court. We're going to feed them the best food, that can be had, and so that they're healthy and so forth. And Daniel said, "Oh man, I can't eat the king's food because it doesn't fit the Jewish dietary laws. There's nothing kosher about it and so forth." So he said, "You know what? Just give him some vegetables. Give him some vegetables and water, and let's see how they do." And so then the story goes that the leader of the eunuchs, was really kind of scared because he worried for his head. If these people don't thrive, it's his fault. So he was really worried about it. So Daniel said, "No, give me 10 days. Give me 10 days. And if these guys are not doing as well or better than the ones that are living on the king's food, okay, we'll eat the king's food." 10 days went by, and these guys were nice and fat, according to the Bible. That was really something, and the skin tone was beautiful and so forth. And so the first application of a vegetarian diet. And I guess, so since the animals have to be sacrificially, they have to be sacrificed properly, under the supervision of a rabbi and so forth. So, the lambs have to be bled properly and so forth. Make sure there's no pork involved and, all this kind of stuff. And the cloven hoofs and, Jewish dietary laws. Anyway, so diet goes all the way back and, as a concern of the government. And so I'm really glad that the United States, was concerned about the diet of the people. And they brought us Wonder Bread. And you know what? It's still with us today. So with that, I bid you farewell. And so long. We must. We must infect the universe with us.